Hey, Justin Chamness here, the Real Estate Wholesalers Club, where we're all about getting you to that first deal, shut up money, where you can tell your doubts and your fears, the bill collectors, the haters, the job owners, the bosses, the managers, the supervisors, and that crazy, shut up, this works. Hey, today I want to talk to you about seller leads. I've got a secret. I want to share with you about how to get a great list. This is like a list that other people are not getting. If you want to know how to get a list that is a great motivated seller leads list, stay tuned. I'm going to show you right now. Hey guys, Burton from PropStream is here again, and he's going to show us how to get a motivated seller list. This is what some advanced people are doing, okay? So this is not your ordinary run-of-the-mill list. Hey, go buy a random list and have it skip traced. This is specific targeted data. I know you're going to learn a lot, so stay tuned for a few minutes. It's a quick video, but this is going to teach you a bunch.
What's going on, Justin? Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, my name is Burton. I'm with PropStream.com. So now, let's get to the bread and butter. So I'm a real estate investor in Los Angeles, California. Pre-foreclosures in our market are very competitive. And if you guys are in California, Los Angeles, you guys are probably nodding your head right now. So as I mentioned, I'm trying to create a situation where I'm trying to stay away from pre-foreclosures because they're competitive. And another thing that we do out here is we obviously want to stay away from properties that are on the market, on the MLS, because then we have to wait for it to expire, or obviously, and that could be like 6 months. In our market, it's usually about 6 to 9 months before a property expires on the market. So what do? Well, I search Los Angeles and I can go through any of these categories. In this case, I can go through the lien category, but there's 60,000 records almost. So I don't want to do that manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the filter and I'm going to custom create my own search. So what the filter allows you to do is go through 100 different options. And so essentially, I'm going to be able to take this 56,000 records and custom create it. So the first thing we're going to ask you is, do you want an owner-occupied property, yes or no? So if you're looking for an absentee owner, you would hit no. If you're like me and you like to knock on doors, I'm going to hit yes. If you want both, you're going to hit any. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to choose the category you want us to filter downwards, right? So if we leave it blank, we'll take whatever your filters are down below and go through every category. But in this case, I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to do is just go through the lien category. I'm trying to find someone who's at that early stage of distress. Once I'm done choosing the occupancy and the list type, I then choose the property characteristics. So I can say, okay, now that we're down to 21,000 records instead of 56, simply by choosing owner occupied, show me the ones that are owner occupied but single family. So now we're down to 17,000. I can also apply minimum and maximum bedroom, square footage, year built, bathrooms, lot square footage, and or home features. And I can also stack. So I can say single family and the multifamily properties at the same time. So we went from 1,700 back up to 21,000. Maybe my buyers only want a certain property type. So year built 2000 or before. So now we're down to 20,000. Once we're done with property characteristics, this is when we start beginning the layering process. So now we're dealing with the MLS status. So what we're doing here is we're taking the lien category, or any category for that matter, and cross-referencing it with the MLS. So in this section, we'll be able to specify an agent's description, like a certain word in the agent's description of the MLS, the type of status of that MLS, the listing amount, the listing date, the days on market, whether it's listed as a rental, whether it's listed below market price, or for most of us, whether it's on market, yes, no, or any. Now, most of us, what we'll do is say no, right? You guys are probably nodding your head. But remember, we can get creative now that you have this filtering system. So most of us would have done on market no. Some advanced investors would have done failed, right? So what does that let me know? Well, here are people that have a lien on their property that called an agent already, and it failed while it was listed with an agent. So guess what? As a wholesaler, that's good for me, right? Because that's one avenue the homeowner no longer has, right?
Yeah.
So I can now go in there confidently knowing that they've exhausted one option already.
Yeah.
The options now are you have to sell it yourself, you have to go into pre-foreclosure, take my offer, or pay off that lien.
Man, that is sick, Burton.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you can come up with some advanced stuff, whether it's failed. I had a guy do this and it made me cringe until he explained it to me, but he was looking for active listings. And you guys are probably like, ugh, why would you do that? And I agree. Well, why would you want to look for an active listing? You have to wait for it to expire. But what he was doing was active listings, and he was looking for a certain minimum days on market. So in my market, things last about 6 months to 9 months. So I would do days on market 180 days, the 6-month mark. So here are 144 properties that have a lien that are currently active on the market right now, but they've been on there for 6 months. So they're about ready to expire. Do I A, wait for them to fail, or do I B, go ahead and contact them now and build that rapport now, so when it does fail, they can call me right away, right? So you can come up with some really cool situations. Again, you got to be creative, but you can come up with situations that you would have never heard about because of this elaborate filtering. So let's, again, keep it basic. We'll just do on market, no, but you guys saw what I did. I hope you're taking notes. There's a lot of cool things you can do with the MLS status. Once we're done there, we then can go to the foreclosure status. So again, now that we've taken the lien and cross-referenced it with the MLS results, we can now take the lien section, or any section for that matter, and cross-reference it with our pre-foreclosures, auctions, and foreclosures. So here, we can say we want a lien that's in pre-foreclosure with a certain document type, listed last month, default amount, let's say $100,000, or it has an auction date in November. So these are some of the filters that you can play with, right? But as I told you, in my market, pre-foreclosures are very competitive. So how do I stay away from that? Go to foreclosure status and choose none. So I have 17,000 properties that have a lien either against the homeowner or the property that have not yet reached out to a broker and have not yet gotten an NOD or a notice of trustee sale yet, right? So again, this is that smoke in that rainforest. While everyone's looking at the fire, I'm over here looking at that smoke and going, okay, what's over there? Let me go check it out, right? It could be nothing, but if it erupts into fire, I'm the first one there. So keep that in mind. So once I'm done with foreclosure status, so that's, again, layering 2 categories already, I'm now going to go to ownership info. And this is where I can play with the years of ownership, the type of owner. So I can look for individually owned properties, or when it last sold, similar to years of ownership, what it's last sold for, whether the owner is registered out of state, or whether the property is also registered vacant. So I think this is important because let's say I'm looking for an absentee owner. I now can look for an absentee owner that's in a different state. So now think about that, right? So you're an owner in a whole different state that owns a property in California, Los Angeles, and it has a lien on it. Like, talk about a headache. You got to call your property manager, you got to call your realtor to now take care of that situation, right? Or it might be such a headache, or you don't have the time to do any of that stuff, that an investor like me ends up calling you, and we build, some rapport, and you are convinced that I'm going to take care of your property, and so you give me a price, and I now buy your portfolio from you. So I think this is a very powerful section for you to do stuff like that. In this case, I'm going to do owner occupied, individual. I want some equity, so I'm going to do at least 7 years of ownership. So that is ownership info. Next is the lien, bankruptcy, and divorce status. So this is important for this search because I'm going through the lien lists. So this will allow me to play with the lien filters or details. This is also important if you're looking for bankruptcy recordings or divorce recordings. Okay, so in this section here, I can play with the recording date. Every state has a different level of enforcing a lien. Some will enforce a lien in 90 days, some will do it in 3 years. Got to know your market. Once you know your market, this becomes important because if, let's say, your market enforces liens in 3 years, well, I can look for liens that are at the 2-year, 11-month mark now, right? Call them right before that lien starts getting enforced. I can choose the lien type. I can also layer. So not only does this property has a lien, but it has a divorce or has a bankruptcy and so forth. Just be careful when you do too many layering. Again, you're getting too specific and not it's not really going to happen. Like, what
Right.
situation is a property failed, pre-foreclosure, bankruptcy, and divorce? You know what I mean? Like, it does happen. Don't get me wrong. Rare.
It's a
So
bad day for
don't
somebody.
expect to get, yeah, very bad day. Don't expect to get thousands of results in those types of categories, right? But again, this is important for this search because I'm trying to stay away from pre-foreclosures. I'm looking for off-market properties. So liens is a category I'm looking for. But here are some liens that are 700, 900. Here's one that's 500. These guys can pay off these liens and they're no longer, the smoke is gone, right? So how do I get rid of those guys? Lien amount. This allows me to control the motivation. So it's sad to say, right? And I hope that doesn't happen to these homeowners, but I'm really looking for someone that's heading into pre-foreclosure. And clearly these guys with small amounts aren't the case just yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for people that have a lien of $7,000 or more, but I don't want the lien too much. Like, I don't want a $200,000 lien amount. So I'm going to make sure that it's under $30,000. So between $7,000 and $30,000, this allows me to know, okay, here's a person who has an income tax lien, $15,000, right? So not only you have to pay your mortgage, your car payments, your insurance, your kids' schooling, but now you're faced with this income tax lien that you have to pay for. And if you don't pay that lien, it's obviously going to cause foreclosure on your home. And here's an owner that has a lien, and he's extending it, right? His only resolution right now is to call the state and say, hey, can you keep extending my lien? Like, I don't have the money to pay that right now. And this is telling me that he's doing that. So this would be a great lead in right now. Off market, has a lien, it's not in pre-foreclosure. While you guys are out there waiting for pre-foreclosure, I'm out here looking for these guys right now, right? So very powerful section here because that allows you to control that level of distress. Once we're done with that category, we then can play with the value trend, minimum and maximum value of the property, rental value, minimum, maximum, growth percentage, the percentage of growth over a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. We also have the equity and mortgage information, which I think is important. So for like this area, I like to look for properties that are 100 or $500,000 or less, and then equity and mortgage information. So here you guys can specify my buyers need at least 80,000 in equity, or we're looking for at least 60% in equity or more, number of mortgages, total mortgage amount, interest rate, loan to value ratio if you're doing like lease options or subject tos, mortgage terms, mortgage maturity date, loan type, the type of loan that was used, whether the property was once cash bought or whether the property is free and clear. So guys, this is where the magic happens. You get 100 criterias to layer any sort of way. Once you do that, you're going to hit apply. 56,000 records that I could have gone manually through just turned into 335 that fit my criteria. And now, unlike most providers who would have just sold you this list and you pay for it right then and there,
Right.
we actually let you go in there and start analyzing it. So this is the property details page, guys. I'm going to go over this in just a second now, but before I talk about the details, here's one thing I recommend that you do if you have an elaborate filter. After you hit apply and before you go into the details, click save search, because you can name that search. You can call it the LA off-market liens, apply your description, like your summary of your details or your filter. You can replace one of our boxes here at the top. I don't recommend it because I usually like to see what I'm starting with when I search an area. If you don't replace a box, we'll store it in all searches for you here at the top. And last but not least, this is why I'm talking about this, set up notifications. You can get emailed immediately, daily, or weekly if tomorrow 335 turns into 340. If tomorrow it turns into 340, you're going to get an email that says, hey, 5 new properties have meet your LA off-market category. So set up that notification, because now as you've built your list, you can go out and about and we're going to become your personal assistant. We're going to say, hey, you got some new properties that meet your criteria. And it's also going to be cool because when you log out and log back in, right, you don't have to type in that stuff again, LA with those elaborate filters. Just go to all searches, find your result here. So just go through all your searches. Oh, there it is. Click on it. And we're back to square one like we were yesterday. Except this time, if I did get an email, it would say 340. And numbers 1 through 5, the 5 new ones would now be the new 1 through 5. So we're always making sure the new ones are at top. So you, again, will get an email that says, hey,
Wow,
5
that's
new
great.
ones, numbers 1 through 5 are the new ones. I'm
Yeah.
going to check them off and look at them. You might get an email that says, hey, you have 70 new ones. Well, okay, you don't want to check off all 70. So just filter right here.
Oh man, I hate to admit this, Burton, but this one tip right here, what you're showing me right now, is going to save me and my team like countless hours every day. We did not know. I did not know that we could sort it like that. I mean,
Oh man, absolutely. And I like, as you guys see, I have filters for days. I have Riverside buyers, I have LA County buyers, I have like MLS failed buyers. I mean, you can create as many notifications as you need. So however many categories you deal with, I highly encourage it, because now once you set it all up, sit back and relax, and we're going to be emailing you with all the new leads, because that's what you're paying for, right? You're paying $97 a month to get a system, not just for data. This is what we do a little bit different than the rest, is we not only give you data, but I think it's, well, I have to call, we do data differently. We take that data and give it to you the way we give it to you, but we also like to play with it by setting up notifications and then marketing to it and running analysis on it and stuff like that. So I wanted to show you guys that save search feature. Once you save your search, then I would recommend diving into the details. And so in the details, again, is where the story unfolds. So let me kind of show you that every property you click on will have property details. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, things will change based on the story. So let's look at this property as an example. When I click on the property, it's going to show me an image of the property at the top. If we have MLS photos, you will have the photos available. If not, bird's eye view and street view is what you'll have access to. Okay, so just note that. Now, below that photo is the property characteristics, which is very important to note. We'll leave that there for you. We'll show you the estimated value that we've calculated using our patented algorithm. We use MLS comps, county comps, other variables. Again, this is our algorithm. You don't need to go by it, right? So if you're like me, you don't trust computers because you watch too many Terminator movies, perfectly fine. That's just giving you what we believe it is. You guys can run your own comps and get your own ARV. Below that is off-market status. So clearly I asked for something off-market, so it's going to say off-market. Distress, is it in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure? No, because I asked for it not to be in pre-foreclosure, foreclosure.
yeah.
Liens, what's the lien amount? In this case, 11,000, again, between 7 and 30,000, so that's good. Owner's individual, as I asked, it's owner occupied, which I asked for, and it's a single family or multifamily, which I asked for. To the right, again, we have estimated value and when the property last sold. So $102,000 back in 1997 was the initial sell date. The 5-year trend of this property, the comparables. So we believe there are 10 comps within a half-mile radius, valuing at an average of 461 with 75 days on the market. And here are the comps in the last year and how it's trended. And then opportunity. So we're able to calculate a mortgage balance using our mortgage records. We take the mortgage balance, subtract the estimated from the estimated value, and that is what gives us the estimated equity. Again, you don't have to go by our estimated value. If you go to the comps and let's say you run your own comps, you get $450,000. Well, 450 minus that mortgage balance, that's your estimated equity now, right? So that's how that whole thing works. Monthly rent, and then the lien amount. Now, all of this information, including mortgage balance, is scattered in this field right here, in these categories here. So beginning with property details, I know the owner. I can see if the owner has a different mailing address. Property characteristics, site information. Sometimes you'll see HOA information, assessment information, last sell information, which includes mortgage information down below. We have the lien details. So now you can just see what type of lien she has. She has a federal tax lien. So it's not against the property, which is good, but it's good to know because if I do go in there and say, hey, I'll give you $120,000 in cash to buy your balance out and, you know, to get you out of your situation, she might say no because on the back of her head, $120,000 isn't going to take care of the lien as well. It's going to take care of her balance, but it's not going to take care of that lien, right? So maybe preemptively, we need to understand that we might need to go more than 120. We might need to maybe even offer 140 or 150. So that way she as the homeowner is confident that whatever we're giving her is going to pay her balance off and her lien and maybe give her a little bit extra so she can restart herself all over again, right? So this is why the story unfolds here. Again, I haven't even called her to know where my potential buyout amount is. I'm getting that simply by clicking on details. So property details, lien details, now is comp. So I don't go by computer system numbers, even though our algorithm can be on point, comps can be on point. I don't ever go by it for two reasons, because I don't trust computers. And second, your buyers are never going to listen to you. If I go to my investors and say, hey, I have this computer system that says the property is comps is 461, they're just going to like raise their eyebrow and okay. Like the idea here as a wholesaler is think of yourself as a lawyer, right? If you're trying to prove someone's innocence, you need the evidence to prove their innocence, or vice versa.
Right.
Trying to prove someone's guiltiness, you need the evidence to prove that, right? So that's what the comparables and nearby listing section is designed for, except we give you county recorded sales, which is the first box, neighboring records, and MLS listings, which is what agents use to run comps. So I'm looking at a property that's 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So I'm going to use county records first. By default, we go back a year, but I can, let's say, go last 6 months, March 1st to today.
Perfect.
I'm looking for a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and now it's isolating my results here for me. I can increase or decrease the square mileage. I can say 0.25 instead of half a mile. And now I'm down to 4 results. So here are my 4 results. They're all 3 2s. So clearly these are not perfect matches for me. So I might need to go higher, 0.5, and just look for the 2 1s. So here they are. I'm going to go ahead and deselect these 3 2s. Here are my 2 1s. I'm going to go ahead and choose that 2 2 as well. So with that said, our value is showing 3 comps at 460, which just seems about right? But now I get to feel confident that I didn't go by the system. I went by my numbers, and then this is where I'm at. Now, here's the cool part. I can hit view report now, and it's going to take those properties that I selected and give you the comps analysis. So it's going to let me know the low, the average, the high. Here's the subject property, and the 3 comps based on distance. So guys, here's what we're really doing.
Wow.
I'm a wholesaler. I convinced an owner to sign a purchase agreement for $150,000. I ran comps on a property that has, let's say, an ARV of 460 average, right? So typically what most people will do is they'll call a buyer and say, hey, buyer, I have a contract. The ARV is 445 or 4 something, right? And because they calculate an ARV before calling the buyer. I don't do that. The reason why I don't do that is because if I calculate an ARV, I could be wrong, utterly wrong, right? Because ultimately an ARV, there's no rocket science to it. It could be a theoretical number. You need to have the evidence to justify your ARV. This is why running comps is important. But the way we do it is we take your comps and we give you a low, an average, and a high. So what we're really doing is we're putting the ARV in the plate of the buyer. We're saying, look, I have a contract. Yeah, it's worth $150,000 or $200,000, right? But here's what you can get out of it depending on how you rehab it. Because I don't know what the buyer is going to do. He can use all the cheap material. He can use all the designer material. But I'm letting the buyer know, look, you buy my contract for $200,000, your profit could be 240, it could be 260, or it could be 280. Your call there. So now my buyer, guess what? He's not thinking about my price anymore. He's not thinking about $200,000. He's not thinking, I have to give Burton $200,000. You know what he's thinking? How do I get that $280,000 ROI?
Yeah.
We totally distracted our buyer simply by letting him know what the margin of ARV is. And again, low, high, average.
That's like a silver bullet in the chamber, man. It's incredible. It's what a sales piece to be able to show if you're mobile wholesaling or ugly house or whatever it is. You've got buyers. You're right, man. They all want to see some comparables or some kind of proof of ARV. And if you can flop a report right down there in their email like that, boom.
I think that right there builds credibility. It's it's what's gonna separate you from someone who just started last month. But again, that's nothing bad. You can start last month and get some success to it. But your buyers may have been in the market for decades, and you're competing with other wholesalers that they deal with as well. So again, note that you obviously want to make sure that you're separating yourself from the rest. And I believe these reports could help you do that. So that's just the first box. Second is neighboring records. So you might be in a cul-de-sac, a gated community, or maybe you're dealing with like the Adams family house where it's built in 1920s. There's no other property similar but the neighbors. So we give you the neighboring records. And last but not least is the MLS. So now I'm an agent, except I'm unlicensed. So I get to pretend to be an agent and I can go through the agent results. In this case, go back the last 2 months, show me all the 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom in a 1 mile radius that either are active, failed, or sold. So let's do sold. Here are our 8 listings, what their listing prices are. So now, not only do I have county recorded sales, but I can show my broker, or my buyer, hey, I also was able to get a hold of a realtor. I had a realtor pull me comps using their database. Here are the 8 properties that have sold on the MLS that maybe the county hasn't recorded yet. And that's why it's important that we deal with the MLS, is because you might see things that the county doesn't have. Like here's one that sold on 8/1, and the most recent county recording is on June 24th, right? So this county is almost 2 months behind in records compared to agent data. So do I show my buyers a property that sold 2 months ago where the market could have been 5% less 2 months ago? Or do I show my buyer a listing from last month or this month that shows what the actual market value is within the last 30 days? So keep that in mind, guys. These 3 boxes are your best friend because you'll be able to extract the evidence that you need to justify your ARV. And then the other boxes are your nearby listings. Okay, so comps, spent a little bit more time there because I want to show you guys how important that is. Then we give you tax information, mortgage information. So this is, again, a silver bullet here. So what we do here is we show you, in this case, the original purchase back in 1997, but then we go in the history of the activity of the property. So we're able to see that Dasha here has pulled several refinances. So refinance the property, equity, refinance, equity, looks like a refinance, and then looks like might have pulled out equity again one more time. So actually refinanced or pulled equity on the remaining balance within the year. So because of that last transaction, it resets everything, right? We're no longer looking at the original balance or original loan, because if we were, the balance would say $40,000, and that's not true because this person is actually pulled out of the property. So we know that the last one used was 2 years ago. So we calculate that balance, and that's why we come up with this balance. We're not just make believing these numbers. These numbers are coming from a certain from a certain record, and then we analyze or reverse calculate the payments for you. Transaction history confirms these documents. And then documents and reports. So here I can print the analysis wizard reports if I use that here at the top. The accessories map, which is $1.50, or the deed of the property if it's available. So every property in our system has this layout, guys. So take advantage of that.
Wow.
You'll be able to even hit the print button, and that takes everything. Because how do I explain this property to an investor? Hey, dude, I just found this property. I think you'll love it. Yada, yada, yada. Like, no one can do that, right? So hit the print button, and we're going to give you this amazing report that looks like this. Shows you the property, characteristics, the comparables, the opportunity, last market information, any lien history, owner history. Here are the comps, listed comps, and the statistics. Okay, so
guys, if you want to look,
guys,
if you want to look better than you are, right? This makes you look better than you are, right?
Exactly. So 2 things. I just hit print on the property. I get this layout. I ran my comps, and I have my comps report. So I, again, get my Manila folder. I put this property in there. I put my comps report. So now my conversation with my buyer, hey, I think I have this property. You might be interested. Here are the property details. They're going to look at this and go, what the hell? And then I'm going to say, oh, hey, by the way, I ran my own comps as well using county records. Here's what I think the ARV range is. I'm not going to tell you what the ARV is, but here's what I think the range could be depending on how you rehab it. 2 pieces of paper, I think our contract is going to be sold in a matter of a few weeks or more, right? Because that's the whole goal, is we need to separate ourselves from the people that are using pen and pad. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just a lot of people are doing that. So you don't want to jump into that field. Same thing with finding leads. A lot of people are jumping into pre-foreclosure, so you don't want to just do that. Not to say that you shouldn't. If you can, do it, because if you could get a lead from a pre-foreclosure category, you're amazing. You're going to get a discounted price, but it's very competitive. So Just know that. Okay. So that's the print button. You then have the analysis, which allows you to run your numbers, your mortgage information, income, expenses, and sales. So what this is doing is this is more for like the fix and flippers or the cash flow individual. This will allow you to put your numbers to calculate what your cash flow would be or your ROI in the next 5 years or in the next, let's say, 6 months or so. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. That's the seller list. I hope you learned a lot here. Secret seller list, by the way. So go ahead and take this out there and put it to use in your business. Make a lot of money. Don't forget to like and subscribe here. Don't forget to visit us at realestatewholesalersclub.com. Get your free training, get your free agreements, and get started for free, guys. Also, we offer a lot of other things there. So check us out. We really do want you to be a part of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel and our live Zoom calls on Saturday morning where everybody in the world is invited. You're invited. Come join us, and we'll see you there. All right, Real Estate Wholesalers Club, we're here for you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching. But don't forget to post, introduce yourself, tag a friend, like us, leave a comment, subscribe, share this video. Just do something. Don't just sit there. There's all that money out there. You got to get going. Get in motion. This is Motion Real Estate.